Love is truly one of those things that you can only learn through experience, through trial and error. And in your early 20s and your teenage years, it's such a confusing thing, and it's not something someone can teach you. Yeah, your parents or guardians can talk to you a bit about love and attachment, but there's no true way of teaching it because you can really only learn through trial and error and through experience, and everybody experiences love differently. Some people experience quote unquote love more than others and experience it in different ways with different partners, with different people, and every different person and every different person is complex in their own way and express love in their own way based on what they've learned. What I'm trying to get at is it's such a complex and completely complicated subject because there's just so many variables. But that's what's also so interesting about love. There is no set rules, there's no laws to it, really. That's what makes love hard. That's what makes understanding people and the attachment you feel for them and how to love another person and how I should feel I should be loved back by that person. It's such a complicated thing, and I want to touch the tip of the iceberg on it today and just kind of talk about it. I mean, by all means, I haven't had any crazy experiences, or have I haven't I don't have all the wisdom for this kind of subject, but I want to discuss my own experiences because it might shine some light on some different aspects that other people might not have experienced, or maybe we'll share some aspects of my stories. So that being said, I think one of the biggest mistakes I made in my early 20s was thinking that love was supposed to feel intense all the time. If it didn't feel urgent, or if it didn't feel consuming, or if it didn't feel like I needed the other person to feel okay, I would automatically assume something must be wrong. Looking back, a lot of what I called love was really just attachment. Honestly, that was just what I thought love was. But and I didn't know the difference yet. I remember being in a relationship where my mood depended on how fast they texted back. As cringy as that sounds looking back at it, if they were distant, I felt anxious. If they were affectionate, I felt calm. And at the time, I told myself this is what caring looks like. This is what it should be like all the time, right? But that's not love. That's your nervous system looking for safety in another person. There's actually research around attachment styles: anxious, avoidant, secure. And when I first learned about that, it felt uncomfortably accurate. People with anxious attachment often confuse intensity with intimacy. People who are more avoidant, People with avoidant attachment would confuse distance with independence. And in your 20s, those two types find each other constantly. I dated someone who was emotionally distant, and instead of seeing that as a mismatch, I took it as a challenge. I thought if I was patient enough, loving enough, and understanding enough, they'd opened up. And that's fine, but what really happened was I abandoned myself trying to be easy to love. I tried to mold myself into a new person that would be perfect for this partner. That relationship taught me something I wish I learned sooner. And it's the simple fact that love shouldn't require you to earn emotional availability. There's a quote that says, "You don't heal in the same environment that made you sick." And I stayed way too long in dynamics that kept triggering the same insecurities. This one relationship that I'm talking about isn't the only one where I've been in that I've tried to change myself too much just to make the other person happy, thinking that if I just tried harder, it would finally feel stable. Now, going back on the note of love being a confusing subject and we all experience it in different ways, there becomes this fear when you start to get into your early 20s, and then as you get older, fear drives love a little too much and you feel pressured all the time. And it's hard to make decisions based on relationships and love because this fear factor starts to take a toll on you. If you're someone who hasn't experienced much love or much experience with partners, you start to have this fear creep in of being alone, the fear of starting over after a long relationship, or fear of watching someone move on faster than you. These fears can be crippling. They can really immobilize you mentally and take a toll on you. I stayed in situations longer than I should have because being uncomfortable felt safer than being alone. Psychologists actually talk about this, how uncertainty in relationships can activate the same stress responses as physical danger. Your body isn't just broken for feeling anxious, it's responding to instability. But something I learned is that if a relationship consistently makes you anxious, it's not teaching you how to love, it's teaching you how to survive. At some point, I had to ask myself a hard question. Do I like this person? Or do I like who I become when they choose me? That question changed everything, and it's pretty deep if you start to think about it, because love isn't supposed to shrink your world, it's supposed to make you feel safe enough to expand. You're supposed to grow off one another, you're supposed to improve. Your life isn't supposed to get worse because you're in love with somebody, it's supposed to get better. In a good relationship, you motivate each other to do new and creative things, you challenge each other, you look out for one another. Those should all be the green flags you see in a relationship that you choose for yourself. And you should be making sure as a good partner that you also have those good attributes to shine on to your partner. I also like to think that love in your 20s is often about projection. You don't love the person as they are, you love the future you imagine with them, the version of them you hope they'll become, the potential. But potential isn't a relationship, consistency is. You don't get with someone and hoping that they'll be someone else you imagine. You should be searching for that person that you're imagining, or someone close to it. You can't just be with someone and say, that's fine, I'm going to mold them into somebody different. That just doesn't make sense, and that's kind of crazy thinking. But it's what a lot of people think, and I'm sure at some point in my life I've been in relationships where I've thought the same thing. One of the most grounding things to know is that calm is not boring, calm is regulated. Healthy love feels steady and predictable, not perfect, but peaceful. And if that sounds unfamiliar, it doesn't mean you're broken. If it doesn't mean you have a misunderstanding of it. It just means that, like we said before, you've probably experienced and learned love in a different way, and you've probably been taught that chaos equals passion. But looking back now, I don't regret those relationships. They taught me where my attachment wounds were. They taught me when I was looking for someone to save me instead of walking beside me. And maybe that's what love in your 20s really is. Not about finding the one, but about finding the parts of yourself that need healing. I always say that we can learn a lot from relationships, and not just in love and partners, but in friends too. And a lot of that in your early 20s, when you're going to go through relationships constantly, whether it be a loved one or a friend, there's always a piece of yourself that you can find, or a new part of you that you can learn. And when you stop chasing intensity, you start recognizing what security is, and that that's probably more important. And that's when love starts to feel less like anxiety all the time and more comfortable and more like home. And truth be told, love is complicated. Again, I've mentioned it multiple times, and I'd like to know what your guys' opinions are down below. If you have something you'd like to add to the topic or discuss in the comments, feel free. I would love to start a discussion. Thank you for watching. Hit like and subscribe if you enjoyed.